Hey guys, Jonathan here, and today we're taking a look at every LEGO Batman minifigure from the first waves from 2006 to 2008. Now, in most cases, these are actually my original minifigs from when I was a kid, so this video is really special and meaningful to me because I've been in this game literally since the beginning, and honestly, LEGO Batman has been pretty much my entire life, so I'm really excited to bring this video to you guys today. I have some really rare stuff to show you, including some of the first minifigs ever made, even before the first ones in 2006. I'll explain that as we go, but it's going to be a really great video. I do have one disclaimer though. I'm not going to talk about specific values of figures in this video, and the reason being is the values have fluctuated so much just in the last 2 or 3 months that it's hard to say what the values are going to be long term, whether they go up even more, whether they kind of plateau, or whatever the case may be. And I want this to be more of a historical celebration of the figures for what they are and, when they came out and everything. So I really don't want to focus too much on value. There might be 1 or 2 cases where I mention it, but this is more a history lesson than it is a valuation price guide. The other thing that's very important is I need you to let me know in the comments down below what your favorite figure in this entire lineup is. I cannot wait to celebrate 20 years of LEGO Batman in this video with you guys, so let's jump right into it and start breaking down the history. So as we should with any good history video, we've got to start at the beginning. At San Diego Comic-Con 2005, LEGO gave away 250 of this little commemorative display showing the first ever LEGO Batman minifigures, which of course you could see are the black and gold Batman and the Joker. They are glued into this display, and there was a push button there that it used to make noise, but the batteries died a long time ago and you actually can't change the batteries. But this was the world's first look at what the LEGO Batman theme would be, and I'm very grateful to own one of the 250 that were ever made. This is absolutely one of the rarest LEGO items of all time, not to mention one of the rarest LEGO Batman items, so it's really special to have, and I thought we had to kick the video off with this one. Alright, it all kicks off in the deep dark layer of the Batcave, and this of course is the gray suit Batman, right out of the video game, but he debuted in 2006. There was no back printing on hardly any of these figures, although some did get back printing, so we'll explore that as we go, but this is the one that started it all. It has that classic Batman logo, just an incredible design, minimalistic in all the best ways, and of course when we lift that cowl up, you can see that the way that they did this is giving him like a white headband so that when you put the cowl on, the eyes are actually on his forehead, which is kind of funny, but it does translate so well to LEGO, you don't really think about it when you're looking here, and that same design motif would be used all the way through for the first wave of Batman, but also even into the modern day, they still kind of use this same general idea. So it's an incredible minifigure, and it appeared in 3 sets. Batman Dragster, the Batboat, and the Batwing from 2006. So truly remarkable and a real piece of LEGO history. Now, as some fun trivia, we did get a slight variant of this minifig, if you could call it that, with the Batman pens that were exclusive to Kohl's. Now, as you can see, the cowl really doesn't remove from the head, the cape is actually a slightly different material, and the torso is a much thinner plastic. It technically does attach to Lego bricks, as you can see, but when we lift the torso up, you can see there's no, X-bracing there, and the legs don't even move, but there's a hole that runs the entire way through the minifigure so that it could go on a pen. So, while I wouldn't count this as a traditional minifig per se, I do think it's worth shouting out some of the slight variants that we got over the years. So, yeah, we'll keep moving on, but I thought you guys would get a real kick out of that right off the bat. No pun intended. Perhaps the most common Batman from this wave is the black and gold Batman that you can see here. Now, I may have fooled you because this one is actually a magnet. When we look at the back of his feet, you can see that they're actually filled in solid, whereas the actual minifigure doesn't have magnets in the feet. So I just thought it'd be fun to kind of surprise you guys at first because you really can't hardly tell the difference between the magnet and the official figure. The printing is basically the same, and overall they are pretty sweet. But let's take a look at the official minifig. And what's interesting about this one and makes him the most common, I say with air quotations, is he's the only figure to appear in sets from more than one gear. In fact, it was the first ever Lego Batman to appear in a set because it was in the limited edition 1 of 250 Comic-Con exclusive Batman announcement box, which I actually am grateful to own, one of the 250 that was made back in the day. So it's a really incredible minifig with that history. So it appeared in 2005 as the first Lego Batman minifig. It appeared again in 2006 in several different sets, and then it appeared in 2008 at San Diego Comic-Con again in this promotional set, which is something that had like a Build-A-Minifig station at San Diego Comic-Con. The minifigs were not exclusive, but the box they came in was. That being said, as far as the minifig itself, it uses all black parts with gold printing. There was no printing on the back of the torso, and once again, it uses that same Batman head that we looked at before, but overall, this is a remarkable minifig, and I probably like it better than the gray suit we looked at. I don't know, I had more adventures with this one as a kid. I played with it way more, but I'm curious which Batman suit will be your favorite as we go through all of them in this video. As we explore the villains, we'll start with the cheapest set and work our way up as every year goes on. So that takes us to Catwoman, who is in the Batman Dragster set. She had her own little motorcycle in that. Of course, no back printing, but what she did have was a unique printed head. So she's got the giant goggles on this side, and then just a regular face on the other side. Definitely a little dated, not up to current LEGO standards, but I did always like that if you put the Catwoman mask back on, you could just barely kind of see both of her eyes, but of course that mask is supposed to go on this side of the head. It's definitely a very large mask, but it's certainly in proportion with the Batman mask, and unlike today with like Captain America's helmet and other pieces that are very thin, you know, this was just a sign of the times. It was a really, really cool piece, and technically the cheapest LEGO Batman villain you could ever get in a set, because it did come in the cheapest one. Well, Mr. Freeze came in a pretty cheap set too, but let's not get too far ahead of the horse here. Up next, we have one of my favorite minifigures of all time, Two-Face, from the Two-Face Chase set. Again, we're still in the year 2006 here, but this is an interesting minifigure because he did have a random variation. If you look on the hips here, you can see that there is just a little black stripe printed right there. But sometimes, for whatever reason, the hips just came as plain white hips. So you should check your figure and see which one you have. Technically, these hips were exclusive to this figure, although, you know, the pricing variation between the two isn't really all that different. That being said, I always loved his Tommy gun accessory, and I just love the black and white color scheme on this. It feels so much like Batman the Animated Series, while also being its own unique Lego mold. The spiky white hair is so unique, and the way that the paint was applied, I've seen many different variations of what this hair can look like in the end, but overall, this is one of my favorite Lego minifigures of all time. Two-Face is my favorite DC character, favorite Batman villain, and I just think the complexity of his psyche is so fascinating. But anyways, yeah, this figure was absolutely remarkable. The Two-Face henchman came in that set, and something you'll notice from 2006 is several villains got a henchman that was kind of dressed like their, you know, boss, I suppose, but all of them actually used the same head, which is kind of funny. Very nostalgic from the old video games. Technically an exclusive torso on this one with the half black, half white torso, but overall just something fun and somebody else for Batman to beat up in the set. Killer Croc. He only came in one set in 2006, making him one of the more rare and desirable figures, especially because we really haven't gotten that many versions of Lego Killer Croc at all. Certainly, this is the only minifig style one. All the other ones have been big figs, and this one's pretty creepy with the red eyes and the sharp teeth. It is definitely a really, really unique piece, and definitely one of the better Lego Batman villains, just because they went so creepy with him and made him very, very menacing, and he just stands in a league of his own compared to a lot of the other villains here. So I love this one a lot, and I think it's aged pretty well and is emblematic of its time for sure. Well, hello there, Bat Brains. It's the Joker. Yes, the 2006 Joker, one of the most legendary Lego minifigures of all time, bar none. This is one of my favorites as well, and I think they did such a great job bringing in the comic book style, the animated series style, which so many of these minifigures minifigures were influenced by that Batman the Animated Series, but this Joker is so amazing, and the key detail is the simplicity. You know, if you look at the head, there wasn't even a reverse side, no printing on the back of the head, so just all of that great cartoonish torso with a very realistic head, and even just like the little wrinkles near his eyes and the big dimples, just made for such an amazing minifigure. Now, Lego Batman Archive over on Instagram pointed something out that I didn't even realize, but there was a variation of the Joker between the 2 years that he came out. The left one is the 2006 version, and in fact, I think removing the hair actually makes it a little easier to tell, because on the 2008 version, the printing is slightly different. Like, it's a little bit thicker around the eyebrows, whereas the original one is a little bit thinner in a darker green color. In all my years, in fact 20 years of collecting Lego Batman, I never noticed this until I saw this pointed out side by side. In fact, places like Bricklink and Brickset don't even point out this variation, but when you look at it side by side, especially under like a magnifying glass, if you will, there is definitely a difference between the two. So 2006, 2008, pretty wild. That being said, it is such a great minifigure regardless, and I love that they used that Dracula hair in green. It just made for such a unique minifig, and really a league of its own, just like many of the minifigures here are, but this one especially. In the Joker's aerial assault set, we also got a Joker henchman, and as you can see, he has that same exact head as the Two-Face henchman from earlier. In fact, they even have the same hat style, but they have a unique torso this time, and by unique, I mean literally just a purple torso. So, not much to say here, but definitely gotta have him on the list. Whack, 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 whack. Up next, we've got the Penguin. Such a great minifig, guys, and I love that he was so short here. They gave him the top hat and just a really, really cool torso and head as well, and he actually came with this really cool little penguin minion as well that came in the various sets. Penguin actually came in 2 different sets. But it's a brick-built penguin, and sometimes the penguin would be holding a gun like this, or other times it would be holding dynamite, so just really, really cool overall, and I just love that it's such a great blend of, you know, cartoons, even like the 60s Batman, it kind of has some of that feeling, and overall it's just an incredible minifig. Because, you know, he's shorter, and I would say he's one of the less exciting villains in this lineup, he's probably the easiest and cheapest minifig to get of all of them. Granted, still on the expensive side, but as far as main characters go, this is probably the cheapest and easiest one to find, but, you know, that could change with the wind, as I said at the intro of this video. And here we have Mr. Freeze. This is the one from the Batcave, which is just such an incredible minifigure, of course. But he did come in the Mr. Freeze, like, Dragster Racer set from 2008 as well. There's just a slight variation on, like, the build of the figure. And this is another one where if you lift up the helmet, there was a variation of the head. This is the only one I have, so I don't know, you know, how different the other variant is. But regardless, a really, really cool minifig using that, like, 90s helmet style for his dome. And then, of course, you can see that his brick-built freeze ray is just incredibly cool with that white tube. And the torso has no printing on it, so all of the detail, if you will, from the torso comes from this neck bracket piece he has, but it's an incredible minifig and definitely one of the more sought-after ones for sure. Our final henchman to look at is actually the Mr. Freeze henchman, who came in the Batcave break-in set, and since we're talking about the henchman, why don't we just go ahead and put all 3 side by side so you can see that they literally all go to the same hat store and they all go to the same sunglasses store, because these guys are all identical from the hat and head department, but definitely really cool, and we'll keep moving on. Perhaps the most desirable minifig of the entire collection is Robin from the 2006 Batcave. He had that really great Elvis-style hairpiece, which was awesome. A cape, I believe this yellow cape that was starchy only came on this Robin. If not, definitely rare. I can't think of another figure that had it from that era, so it's like that exact cape. But the torso is really great detail. If we lift up the head, I love the green mask. It just looks so good. And once again, it's one of those figures that looks so much like the video game, you can't help but be nostalgic seeing this one. Now, granted, the video game came out in 2008, and this figure came out in 2006, so the real nostalgia should be for the figure, but I think so many of us played that game back in the day, and even to this day, that it carries its own, water buckets worth of nostalgia, but it's a really, really great figure and among my favorites in the entire collection for sure. Our only alter ego minifig of the entire lineup is Bruce Wayne, who, you guessed it, came in the Batcave set. And what's cool about this figure is he is not exclusive in the sense that you could get all of these parts and pieces in other sets and assemble Bruce Wayne on your own. So he's probably the cheapest to collect, actually. I know I said that about the Penguin earlier, but considering he's not technically exclusive, this would probably be the easiest one to acquire since all of these parts were relatively common back in the day. And on the complete other side of that spectrum, we have Alfred Pennyworth, of course, Batman's trusty butler, and he is remarkable. One of the best minifigures here because as we look around the head, he is one of the only LEGO minifigures ever to have full 360 printing around the head. As you can see, they gave him that horseshoe haircut as if he's balding, but very few minifigures have printing that goes the entire way around the head, and it makes him such a cool standout. The torso looks great as well, and I love this minifig. This is mine from when I was a kid, and it's just so cool how they did that head print. There's truly not really anything else like it, and that makes him so unique. Plus, he was in one of the most expensive sets of the entire lineup, so that makes for even more rarity and makes for just such a great minifig at the end of the day. All of the next several minifigures were from Arkham Asylum, and these, of course, are the security guards. Just like Bruce Wayne, these were all pieces that appeared in other sets, so while I don't know that these would be quite as cheap as Bruce Wayne to replicate, they're definitely on the more inexpensive side, and they both have matching hats, torsos, and legs, but of course the heads were different and made for some really cool guards to, hold down the fort over at Arkham Asylum back in '06. Among the most valuable figures here is Nightwing, who only appeared in the 2006 Arkham Asylum, and he is absolutely a moment in time because he used this hair that was used in LEGO Exoforce back in the day, which if we lift it off, you can see is actually like rubbery, so it's a really, really cool head, and then the hairpiece that is, but the head and the torso were exclusive on this figure. Now, there was a common enough variant of this that was a misprint where he didn't have the white in the mask printed, so keep an eye out for that. I don't personally have one, but you never know what you'll see out there, so it's a really cool minifig. Certainly among the most valuable here, given his coolness, his video game nostalgia, and the exclusivity to a set that really didn't get a lot of distribution. So it makes for a really unique minifigure at the end of the day, and such a cool one to have here in the collection. And you guessed it, yet again, this is my original Nightwing from when I was a kid in 2006. Here we go, guys. Poison Ivy from Arkham Asylum. Now, her hairpiece is probably what makes this figure feel the most dated because, of course, it's kind of like that hair that was used in some Harry Potter minifigs back in the day. It was definitely a good take on long hair for its time, but compared to today, it definitely feels pretty dated. But if we lift that hairpiece up, you can see that there's no printing on the back of the head or the back of the torso, so it's a really great minifig. I always loved the green lipstick she has. And then, of course, that leafy, outfit she's wearing. It just works so well for Poison Ivy. And I think every part of this minifig was exclusive. I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody in the comments will enlighten us. But it's a really, really great minifig. And once again, exclusive to the 2006 Arkham Asylum. Here we have the Riddler. Now, he appeared in two sets, Arkham Asylum in 2006 and the Bane and Riddler Hideout set in 2007, which we're going to talk about here shortly once we flip the 2007 calendar over. That being said, I love this minifig. It's up there with my favorites. I know I say that a lot, but there were so many great minifigs in this lineup. So, as you can see, he's got a purple mask on, and I really like the dimple lines near his mouth. It just makes him look a little bit more like older and mature, say, compared to Robin, who has a very similar mask and, smile layout. So I really like that they gave the Riddler just a little bit more, like, lineage to his face, but it's a pretty simple minifig other than that. No back printing, no reverse head side, but yeah, absolutely amazing and such a great minifig. All right, here we go with the Scarecrow, a total fan favorite and a very unique inclusion because the head is actually glow in the dark. So let me turn these studio lights off here so you can see him glowing in the dark. Looks absolutely awesome. We'll go ahead and lift that hat off too so you can really see the full effect. It's actually kind of interesting because the hat guarded the top from getting any glow-in-the-dark charge. So, I don't want to say a design flaw, but that is just kind of funny serendipity. But it is an absolutely awesome minifigure for sure. And he's getting into the more rare side because he did appear in Arkham Asylum, sure. But then he appeared in the 2007 Scarecrow airplane set, which did not get a ton of distribution. And I keep teasing that, but we need to get to Batman and Bane before we talk about that. But regardless, it's a really great minifig. I love the rope belt on this. It's just so incredibly cool. The witch hat is great, and overall, it is an absolutely great minifig. All right, we finally made it to 2007, so we can talk about what an odd year it was as far as distribution. We only got 2 Lego Batman sets in 2007. Both of them came with this blue Batman, taking a little inspiration from The Dark Knight Returns, just a little bit. But it's a really, really cool Batman variant, and like I said, we only got 2 sets that year. The aforementioned Scarecrow plane set and the also aforementioned Riddler and Bane hideout. Now, for whatever reason, from what we can see online, it looks like those 2 sets were only distributed for about 3 months, maybe, possibly even less from some things that I've seen. So I don't know if Lego just were trying to get some Batman sets out for the year. Maybe demand wasn't as high. Honestly, it is a mystery I would love to solve someday and find out. But regardless, this Batman minifig is awesome. It uses the same head underneath from all the other Batmans, but we got the blue Batman cape and the blue Batman cowl for the first time. And mysteriously enough, this exact Batman cowl in blue with the thicker version would also appear in the 2012 Batman set. So what? Like years later, and that was in the Catwoman chase set from the very first wave of DC superheroes sets from 2012. Nobody really knows why they randomly brought that piece back out of retirement, but regardless, it is an incredibly cool minifig and one of the more valuable ones, given that it only came in 2 sets, like I said, and those sets really only had, like, 3-ish months of shelf time. So definitely something crazy to think about, but a really great minifig nonetheless. Yes, I was wondering when we would get to the Bane minifigure. I love doing the Bane voice, guys. But as I mentioned in the last segment, this figure only came in 1 set, and that set was only produced for like 3 months. This is, I believe, other than Two-Face and Two-Face's henchman, the only minifigure to get back printing on the torso, and other than Alfred, I think it's the only one to get back printing on the back of the head. So really, really interesting. And I know at the beginning of the video I said I wasn't going to talk about values, but as of right now, this Bane minifigure, as of February 2026, is selling for around $500 because people have realized how rare this one is. There just weren't a lot of copies of the set produced back in the day, and the fact that it's a really great detailed figure makes for awesomeness. You know, he's got, like, the veins popping out of his chest there, and all of the great, green venom toxin tubes on the back just looks so good, and it makes for such a unique minifig at the end of the day. So definitely a real standout here, and absolutely, absolutely one of the most desirable for all of those reasons. So we've made it to 2008, which brings us to the year of The Dark Knight, and because of that, every Batman minifig that came in a retail set that year used the Dark Knight style torso, which of course was like that Christian Bale Batman logo, and even kind of the armored look, although none of the sets were actually based off of scenes from The Dark Knight. They just tied it in for, the marketing purposes and all of that. Now, this year in LEGO, they actually reused quite a few figures, if you can count the reuses. Like, remember we were talking about the Joker variant earlier? So, like, Joker had only appeared in the Comic-Con preview set and that Joker aerial chase, but now in the Joker's Ice Cream Surprise, we got another, reprint of him. I would count it as the same minifig because I don't think anybody noticed until 5 minutes ago that it was a different minifig. But that being said, we also got a different Mr. Freeze, and since I filmed that first segment, I actually went and found this Mr. Freeze, so we'll look at him up close again. We got a Robin variant, but there weren't really a ton of new minifigs in 2008. But we're going to look at all the variants and all that. But with Batman, of course, he's got that same head underneath, same cowl. Really, the only new thing here was that torso. So, like I said, there was a new Mr. Freeze this year, and I'll go ahead and put him next to the original one just so we can see what that difference was. So, if we lift up the helmets, you can see that the face print is ever so slightly different. On the 2006 one, the lines are a little bit more like defined and sharp, and on the 2008 one, they're just a little bit more dull and blotchy. I mean, you really got to zoom in and squint your eyes to notice the difference, but technically the difference is there, so it is worth noting. So, it is a slightly different version of Mr. Freeze. Brickset and Bricklink don't even catalog it as a different version, I don't think. But, yeah, I think the reason they catalog it as a different version on Brickset is because, I think the gun build was different or something like that, but I'm not exactly sure what the differentiator is on those platforms. But regardless, the main difference to us as minifig variant collectors is, of course, the slight stylistic choice of the head being printed slightly different between the two. Here we have Robin, who is still a very, very valuable and desirable minifigure, but compared to the 2006 version, the only difference is the hairpiece. Of course, that 2006 Batcave version had the Elf-style swoop hair, and this version has hair that still comes in LEGO sets to this day. So, nothing too crazy, new, or exclusive with this one, but if you're trying to collect all the LEGO Batman minifigs, this is definitely the cheaper of the two Robins to get, because this one came in the Penguin Submarine set, which, along with it being, the cheapest way to get Robin and the Penguin up to that point in time, it also was the first LEGO Batman set ever to not include Batman in it. So, really cool that Robin got his own solo set. I remember getting it at Walmart with my dad back in 2008. Crazy how time flies, but this is my original Robin from all those years ago, and it's pretty cool to be making videos with him almost 20 years later. And the final minifig, and technically the final new minifig for LEGO Batman 1 was Harley Quinn. She came in the Harley Quinn hammer smash truck thing, and you would think she'd have a reversible head, but alas, she does not. This was the first time we ever got Harley's, Harley Quinn hat piece here, which works great. We would get similar variations as the years have gone by, but this one is obviously very heavily inspired by Batman the Animated Series, which of course was basically the first time we saw Harley Quinn back in the day. So really, really cool minifig. It's really interesting how they gave her the white detailing on the torso there, just to kind of show some shadow and shaping. Getting printed legs is a unique piece here, too. I believe, I'm looking at all the minifigs now, Harley is the only minifig in this entire wave to have gotten printed legs, which is interesting. So, 100% exclusive pieces from top to bottom on this minifig makes for the perfect way to round out Batman. And sadly enough, that brings us to the end of this video. We've officially looked at every single minifig, so let's round the bases for home and call it a day. Alright guys, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and if you didn't at the beginning of the video, be sure to leave a comment and let me know what your favorite Batman minifigure was in this video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll see you guys on the next video.